Welcome back to the Prime Focus Goalkeeping channel. My name is Brendan Miller. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about some key exercises that all goalkeepers can do on their own. Whether you're at home, whether you're in the park by yourself, we want to give you some exercises to help you focus on improving your footwork, improving your handling, improving your diving, improving a number of different aspects of goalkeeping, all while only needing a ball. And so sometimes we're not able to get a lot of equipment. We may not have hurdles, we may not have cones, we may not have a bunch of other things that you typically see in goalkeeper training with your club or with your private trainer. We're trying to give you some exercises that you can do on your own so that you can continue to develop even if you don't have anyone else to help you. All right, so first one we're gonna look at simple footwork drills that you can work on to improve your speed. So for that one, don't really need a ball. All you need is this line, whether it's the goal line, the 6-yard line, the 18, whatever line it may be. We're gonna work on a little bit of lateral movement. We're gonna work on a little bit of front to back movement, some explosive exercises that you can work on to help you, when you translate into the goal, move a little bit quicker, move a little bit more explosively, be able to control your body so that you can move around and make saves that you may not have been able to make before. So first, all we wanna look at is simple footwork over and back, a little bit of lateral work, but it helps you to work on your quickness, driving your feet into the ground. It helps you with a little bit of body control, right? Not going too far right or left, and it helps you to really work on your explosiveness, all right? So we're here, just 3 touches on each side. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just going back and forth. All right, you see how I'm driving my feet into the ground? A lot of the problems that we see with goalkeepers, especially since the line is literally on the ground, a lot of goalkeepers want to just go across here, right? We're not really working on getting explosive. We're not really working on our quickness and being able to drive into the ground and bounce off the ground. We're just working laterally across. So we're doing it quick, but we're not really getting the work out of it that we need. So we need to focus on driving our feet into the ground every single time, all right? Now that's gonna help us with our quickness. That's gonna help us learn how to drive off the ground and explode. If we think about when you dive and you step and dive, what are you doing? You're stepping, picking your foot up and driving it into the ground to push. That's what we wanna do here, thinking about the outside foot. How does it push me back across? One thing we wanna focus on is staying a little bit tighter to the line. That's the body control that we're talking about. A lot of goalkeepers get out here and then they mess up their footwork because they're desperately trying so hard to get back across that line, but they're not focused on controlling their body and staying as tight to the line as possible. So that's one of the key footwork exercises. All you need is a line. Now we're working laterally there. Lateral push, going back and forth. We can work front and back. A little bit of body control, moving forward and moving back. Now this one's just 2 touches on both sides. I can lead with the left foot or I can lead with the right foot, right? Thinking about how do I get forward and back, but see how controlled my body is, right? I'm not going all the way forward and coming all the way back. I want to stay as tight as I can to this line while also being quick. Still picking up my feet, driving them into the ground. Now I'm pushing forward and back. So we work on a little bit of lateral movement, work on a little bit of front back movement. We can get explosive with it. If you want to add a little bit of a push out to a sprint and be able to really drive out of your footwork, maybe you do a sprint through the 6. Maybe you want to work on a little bit of vertical explosiveness, so we get some jumping into it. We go back and forth, but again, nice and controlled. My 2 feet are landing together and I'm springing off the ground. That's the biggest thing that we want to work on with footwork, is being able to spring, being able to drive into the ground and get to that next step quick, instead of just landing, going back again, driving it back up, right? Taking all that time. As goalkeepers, we've got to be able to hit the ground and bounce and be able to explode off of that. So you can do that forward and back. Controlled again. We can go single leg, right? Back and forth. This one may need to be a little bit slower so that we can control it a little bit more. But right leg, left leg, how do we build up that strength in our legs? Single leg, double leg, being explosive, being reactive, being able to spring. That's really what the focus is with a lot of this line footwork, is really just figuring out how do we get more explosive, how do we get a little bit quicker, and how do we do it in a controlled manner where we have a good bit of body control as we move across the goal. So those are the main exercises for footwork. Don't need any cones, don't need rings, don't need anything other than align. We can work on those. Those are things that you can work on daily on your own to start to pick up that foot speed, start to pick up that explosiveness, and start to help you move quicker around the goal. Let's talk about the second set of exercises that we want to look at, which is more so with our handling. Now we want to talk about how do we catch the ball? What do our hands look like on the ball? A lot of goalkeepers have different things. Some use a W, some use a triangle. Right, it all depends on what you're most comfortable with. The biggest thing is catching the ball consistently. And that's what a lot of goalkeepers struggle with. We don't have anyone else around. We don't have anyone to catch volleys from. We don't really have a wall to bounce the ball off of. What we can do is use the ground. So instead of focusing on catching here, now we're catching here, all right? We're just turning it down. So starting off slow, just bouncing and catching. Right, but looking at your hand shape every single time to see what that looks like. Am I consistent when I bounce the ball and catch? Or are my hands in different places every single time and I'm struggling with consistency? So we're here just bouncing and maybe it's a freeze and I look at my hands every single time I bring them up here. It looks like I just caught a volley, right? What does my hand shape look like? I look pretty good here and now I go back in. And I bounce a little bit more and I see how consistent I can be every single time. And I freeze again. I turn it around. What does that look like? My hand shape looks consistent every single time. So now that I've gone slow and I have a bit of consistency, now we start to pick up the pace. Can I bounce the ball a little bit harder? And see every single time, can I get my hands in the same place? And I feel pretty good there, right? Can I move it around a little bit? Because not every single ball is gonna come right at me in the same place, but can I get my hands to react in the same place towards the ball every single time? That's a simple drill that really helps you focus on your hand shape. And it's all about you. It's all about the speed that you wanna go at, how hard you wanna bounce the ball, and how quick you can get your hands out and react to the ball as it comes back up, right? It helps you mirror that shape that you're gonna see when you get right here. All right, so we want to get consistent with it. That's one of the best ways to do it. Simply bouncing and catching. Not a lot of frills with it, not a lot of technology needed, simply just the ball and the ground. So that's our handling drill that we want to focus on. You don't have anyone else around, grab a ball, bounce it, focus on your hand shape. All right, so our third drill that we're gonna focus on, a little bit of diving, focusing on basic diving technique. Obviously, we don't have anyone else to come shoot. We're not gonna see rolling low balls down to one side or the other, but we can focus on the basic technique of it. That's gonna help us when we do start to see shots, figure out where our first step goes, where our hands go, how our body dives down towards the ball. So simply, just wanna start down on the ground. I'm here. What does my hand shape look like when I go to catch the ball? Right, a lot of goalkeepers have trouble with this. They may start out and they're diving like this with their fingertips and not really getting their whole hand on the ball, right? Sometimes goalkeepers have trouble with understanding the three different hands that are supposed to control the ball, the three different hands, right? We want to have one behind, one on top, and pushing that ball into the ground for that third hand. But a lot of goalkeepers sometimes end up coming on top of the ball here, right? Where both hands are on top and we're still pushing it into the ground, but if we don't time this correctly and a ball's rolling in, it can go underneath our hands and we lose it there, right? So focusing on that basic technique, one behind, one on top. So I dive out, I make sure my hand shape looks good, and I rock back up. And I'm working on this consistently, thinking about how do I get my hand behind, how do I get on top, and how do I secure that ball into the ground? So some of the common issues that we talked about, hands in the wrong place, right? But I want you to also notice that this ball is slightly in front of me. It's not just down to my side, because we don't want to simply just fall down to the side and then get back up. We want to focus on getting our shoulders forward, our chest forward, and pushing out towards the ball and then catching it with the proper hand shape. Now I want you to notice my hands are a little bit higher up on the ball as opposed to back here. Because if we think about mistakes, if we don't catch that ball, we want it to roll back in front of us, towards us, unless we're pushing and parrying. But if we're simply just not able to hold this ball, we want to be able to recover from it as opposed to it bouncing off our hands and going, and we have to get up and try and recover as strikers and attackers come in. So now, how do we advance from this? So we've gotten our technique, our basic technique on the ground, where we're simply just reaching our hands out to the ball, attacking the ball, getting the right shape. Now we want to add that little step into it. So we go from our knees. Again, that ball's on the diagonal angle. How do we step, hands out, and push towards the ball. Now, we're a little bit higher up now. We're not just on the ground. So the big thing to focus on, instead of stepping and coming down on top of the ball, how do we step and shoot low and come towards the ball, a little bit more through the ball? The basic technique that we want to work on, because when we're standing up, a lot of times we see goalkeepers dive over the ball because they push up to then go down, right? So we don't want to push up here to then come down on top of the ball. We want to step on that angle, get our hands out towards the ball, and make sure that we're attacking down towards the ball as opposed to trying to come over it. So that's basic technique there, moving from the ground up to your knees, mirroring that step that you're gonna take with your feet, and then diving towards the ball. How do we do it from a standing position? So we think about everything that we just learned, right? Where we're getting our hands out towards the ball, on top, one behind, right? We're shooting low towards the ball, not coming on top of it. Our shoulders are coming towards the ball, our chest is coming towards the ball, and we're following through the ball. We're taking that step. We did it with our knee, now we're gonna do it with our feet. All right, so we're here. It's a simple step down and we're shooting through the ball, right? So the big thing that you'll notice there is the ball didn't stay in place because I'm not falling right on top of it, I'm coming through it. So again, we step out and we're out towards the ball. Now we're combining everything, the hand shape, the shoulders, the chest towards the ball, shooting low, coming through the ball, and now we're getting more momentum to move the ball. And the great thing about this, you can bring the ball tighter and it can be a smaller step. You can push the ball out a little bit further, and maybe you need to shuffle a little bit, right? Maybe you need to work out and step towards the ball. There's a variety of different things that you can do here that'll help you with your diving technique and help you with the basic aspects of the diving. We can do that left side, we can do that right side. If you want to, once you've gotten the advanced part of it, maybe it's a drop down and we're working on bouncing balls. How do we manage the bounce? Do we catch it a little bit lower? Do we wait till it gets a little bit higher? There's a number of different activities you can do with working on your diving, but it's focusing on the basic technique. Where do your hands go? Where does your step go? Where does your body go? How do we get the ball on the ground and trap it? All right, so the last exercise that we want to work on, last exercise where we don't have anyone else with us, we can work on our own, is simple crossing technique. Jumping technique to take your knee up and drive up towards the ball, catching at the highest point. So part of this is helping to work on your footwork. Part of it is help to work on your explosiveness. Part of it is to help you work on your timing of catching the ball. And it's a very simple drill. You're just here and we're just gonna bounce and we're just gonna drive up and catch. This feels helpful because we've got a line right down the middle. So that's gonna help us understand which leg we want to bring up. That's simply for this drill and understanding, I wanna drive up my right on this side, I wanna drive up my left on this side. Obviously, if the ball's out wide and the ball comes on this side of the line and it's whipped in front, we still want to come up with our right leg, but we wanna be comfortable doing the technique, and so we're working right side and left side here. All right, so it's just gonna be simple here. We're just gonna take the ball, we're just bouncing, we're up, and we go catch. All right, so we're focusing on how do we drive our right knee up on the right side, get up to the highest point, and we're focusing on catching the ball. What do my hands look like? We'll bounce again, maybe a little bit of footwork, and we drive up and catch. We've done the right side, focusing on moving my feet, driving up, getting my hands up. How do I do it on the left side? Now my left knee goes up, and I'm here, drive up and catch. Focusing on the little bits of footwork. Now you may not be strong enough to get that ball up really high. If it's not as high, we're still able to focus on the technique of it. Left side, come over, my left leg drives up, my knee goes up, my hands go to the ball. Simple drill, just a simple bounce, footwork, focusing on the technique. Again, we're not gonna see a lot of, or any live service here. We don't have anyone out here with us, but what we do have is the ability to focus on the basic technique that's gonna help us when we do start to see crosses. I realize I'm going to my right knee needs to drive up, and I can work on my timing. So that's all we have today for the exercises that you can work on from home, from the park, when you're by yourself. These are important drills that you can do in goalkeeper training, but you can also do on your own in order to continue to improve as a goalkeeper. Touching on your footwork, touching on your handling, your diving technique, your crossing technique. Those are key aspects that goalkeepers see almost every single game. And they can translate to so many different parts of your game that'll help you start to reach a higher level. So, if you have any comments or questions, you have more exercises that you may do on your own, please let us know. Leave them in the comments section. Until next time, stay focused.